Welcome to this session of SportTechie's Pro Day Tech Trends Driving the Future of Sports Marketing. This panel is called The Ultimate Pivot, How AT&T Business Rapidly Adapted for the Changing Market. It's powered by AT&T Business. And I'm thrilled to introduce our two panelists. We have Trevór Laurence, the Assistant Vice President of Experiential Marketing for AT&T Business, and John Capano, Senior Vice President of Impact XM. Thank you and welcome. To start off with, just to give our viewers a little bit of a background and context of what AT&T does on a usual year. Trevór, how many events, how many of these experiential marketing events do you tend to run in a given year?
Yeah, hey Joe. So first of all, good morning, good afternoon, wherever people may be. Thanks so much for having me as a guest. Really do appreciate that. So let me address that in regards to pre-pandemic days, right? Because I think that's probably going to be much more relevant. So in regards to industry events, we do anywhere between 80 to 100 events globally each and every year. We also do proprietary events that are hosted by AT&T Business. We do a few hundred customer briefings and advisory councils, all with the intent of being able to generate demand, build relationships, more importantly, provide and develop deep connections with our customers. We also use these events as an opportunity to provide a platform for thought leadership and showcase how AT&T Business really is a leader in regards to technology and innovation. And then lastly, to continue to drive credibility in regards to the brand of AT&T Business.
Mm-hmm. And John, how is Impact XM involved in supporting AT&T?
Well, we're an agency partner of Trevór and the team at AT&T. And again, thank you as well. Really excited to be here. We do not only many of the events that Trevór mentioned as partnering with AT&T as their agency, their experiential agency, but globally we do approximately 4,000 events across AT&T and our other clients. So quite a lot of live pre-pandemic, and then certainly a lot of digital and virtual as well during the pandemic and going forward.
Mm-hmm. And Trevór, when COVID came and started shutting down everything else, how did you react? How did you pivot?
Yeah, so like everyone else, we really had to rethink, reimagine, and reinvent ourselves. In the event space, in the experiential space, it's all about trying to provide meaningful and deep connections. Clearly, that was problematic given the fact that we no longer could have face-to-face. So we quickly pivoted. We looked at number one, hey, how can we take things that were already in flight, meaning things that were planned in terms of customer briefings or customer councils, and we quickly pivoted. We've all been on Zoom calls, WebEx calls. We pivoted those to virtual experiences. And I say experiences because one of the other things that we did was, hey, we need to make sure that we can figure out a way to make it meaningful. One of the things that we try to pride ourselves on is being good stewards of the customer's time. How do we ensure that when they give us, 3 or 4 hours of their day, that we're returning the value, making sure that we can bring, meaningful thought leadership to the event, bringing in personalities as well, just to add to the overall event. So, we quickly pivoted and did virtual briefings and virtual councils. Then we said, okay, we need a way to make sure that we can still espouse a point of view relative to thought leadership. And we pivoted to webinars, okay? And we started to develop a platform called Virtual Viewpoints, where over a course of 6 months, we developed well over 70 webinars in partnership with, our brethren at CNN and others, where we could talk about our various integrated marketing solutions that we provide that really enable and drive business transformation and digital transformation. And then lastly, what we did is we focused really on, how do we reinvent and rethink the art of the possible as it pertains to events. And we started to design and develop virtual booths. And we actually developed 9 different booths. So we started with healthcare, because clearly that was kind of top of mind, given the fact that, everyone was looking at, the healthcare industry as a whole. So we started with healthcare, and then we did a virtual booth for retail, for finance, for manufacturing, transportation, cybersecurity, FirstNet, and lastly, sports and entertainment. What I will tell you is the following. Each step along this journey, we got smarter and we continued to raise the bar. Our very first booth we took the mindset of, hey, let's build a physical booth in a virtual world. And we relegated ourselves to that same footprint. After that, we were like, hey, why are we painting ourselves into a box? We're not relegated to a 20 by 20 footprint. We can actually bring in a large airplane and talk about the solutions within that airplane. Those are things clearly that we can't do in a physical space. So as we activated the sports and entertainment virtual experience, we actually were able to showcase some of the in-venue experiences that AT&T provides to really enhance the overall fan experience. And that was something that we found to be extremely successful.
Mm-hmm. So clearly save the best for last with sports, and clearly that's going to be your smartest product. I'd love to learn a little bit more about how it looks. If you could give us a little more detail as to what that virtual presence is like.
Hey, absolutely. And I believe we've got some clips here that we can showcase to you, but we created this environment called the Hub. And within the Hub, there are really three main areas. There's a virtual briefing center where we host customers. We have a webinar theater that's a repository for close to 70 plus webinars. And we have an expo hall that houses all of our virtual booths. And what you see here in front of you is one of the 9 virtual booths that we have, which is focused on the connected venue and the fan experience. And it really showcases the AT&T business solutions that we make available to our business customers, like I said before, to really enhance the fan experience at a particular venue. So this kind of gives you some insight in regards to our partnership with Impact, how they were able to create this virtual and really immersive experience that really encourages customers to explore, discover, and learn on their own.
Mm-hmm. And so, John, what was Impact's role, and what was the mission you set out to achieve?
Well, so as Trevór's agency partner, we kind of pride ourselves on being solution agnostic. And as you mentioned, before COVID, it was a lot of live events, but even within those live events, there was a lot of digital engagements. So it really was this kind of 360 view of the audience or the attendee or the customer. And so when we pivoted, as bad as that was for the industry, for us as an agency, it was kind of right in our warehouse. So helping to take that vision of what we were doing in live and those core objectives that didn't change and bring them to life. And if you've worked in both spaces, you have a sense that attendee journey mapping and UX are not that far apart. They're really cousins. And so balancing the needs of the brand and the content experience with the needs of the audience is a natural for us as a partner. And the key really was to help Trevór and the team bring that to life. And I think the inflection point for us was when we were doing discovery and we realized that within AT&T, a lot of different areas and business units and groups in marketing and even on sales were having events, but they were all using different platforms. And the vision for Trevór was, how do we bring this all together? And that's where you see the hub. So as he referenced, webinars, which are, one to many or many to many, the executive briefing center, bring that to life in the virtual briefing center. And then the overall event footprint, building a landscape or an environment that could host any type of event and be used for any type of touch point throughout his portfolio was kind of key to evolving that thinking. And then, as he mentioned, you could see from when we went from healthcare, we were kind of getting our sea legs, to what we did with FirstNet in building an entire city. And then with the sports and entertainment, where we, recreated an entire venue, it really got pretty ambitious. And to mention, we've started to win a couple of awards, which is never a bad thing. So we won one at CES, we won a Silver Stevie. So the marketplace seems to be reacting well to the work we've done together.
Mm-hmm. What were some of the challenges to putting all of this together and making the shift to digital?
I think one of the key challenges internally, and I think Trevór could probably speak to it more, was coordinating all the business units and all the existing content. One of the things we tried to partner with was we didn't want to start from scratch with content. We wanted to utilize content that already existed within AT&T. And so certainly we've now got the ability to refresh and keep that content growing and evolving. But there was this part early in the process where we kind of did an audit across all the different units to figure out who had everything, and partnering with the team there was one of the kind of core challenges to making the project flow seamlessly and efficiently.
Yeah, and let me just add into that in regards to just some of the challenges. So I think one of the other challenges that we quickly saw was, as a marketing team, we didn't necessarily have what I'll call deep competencies in this space. There's nobody better in regards to our AT&T business marketing team in terms of being able to throw in-person events. We really, I believe, are the gold star by which others measure themselves. But when it came to this virtual space, we really had to quickly learn, quickly pivot, and be very agile. So, we were kind of building the plane as we were flying it, so to speak. And we quickly learned, and we continued to raise the bar over time. So that was one of the things that was really challenging. But to be quite honest, having a good partner like Impact definitely helps in terms of, us rethinking how do we raise the bar? How do we continue to provide meaningful connections? Because that's really important. And also, once you build it, right, how do you drive that engagement? So it's one thing to build it, but if customers don't actually engage, then it's all for naught. And we've played a very active role in terms of being able to promote it internally. We've had outstanding results in terms of customer visits, customer engagement, and consumption of content. Because we really started out with, hey, what are the key stories that we want to tell? And really looking at how do we do that in a meaningful way that allows our sales force an opportunity to connect with their customers. And like I said before, also an opportunity for customers to explore and discover on their own.
Mm-hmm. What did you learn about attendee and behavior, attention spans? How did you have to cater it more toward the digital space?
One of the things that I'll tell you, and I think we know this, in person clearly allows you to have what I'll call deeper engagement and deeper connections. The benefit of a digital world, it allows us an opportunity to cast a broader net and be much more inclusive in terms of the people who have an opportunity to see our intellectual properties. But it is somewhat challenging to get that deeper connection. So you've got to make sure that you've got robust and relevant inventory of content that is relevant and salient to them or germane to them. And we found that we continue to refresh the experience. And we try to also make sure that we've got what I'll call surprise and delight moments throughout the course of the journey so that it hopefully encourages individuals to continue to explore and hopefully become more educated on the AT&T business solutions that we provide.
What are some of the interactive elements you're able to build into this, John?
Yeah, absolutely. So, when we first started in terms of some of the interactive elements, it really was about serving up content, right? And then we got smarter and we looked at, hey, how can we integrate AR into the experience? How can we integrate VR into the experience? So, we've gotten a lot smarter. John, you can probably speak to some of the additional technologies that we've been using. But again, all with the intent of being able to deepen the immersion and deepen the connections of customers who are exploring.
Yeah, so we do, to Trevor's reference, you can put on the goggles and walk around this as well. It's built on an engine that allows you to do that. If you're checking it out, check out the retail environment. There's some interesting AR where you can try on some jewelry live. So one of the core challenges for us was AT&T is a technology leader and an innovation leader. So it couldn't just be a website. To Trevor's point, we really need to engage. We need to do some special surprise and delight to kind of live up to that brand and that brand positioning in the market. And as you wander around, if your audience has a chance to log on, and you're going to find a bunch of little Easter eggs, you're going to find some fun things. You're going to find a lot of rich video and a lot of PDFs to download and white papers and all the kind of standard informational things that need to be there. But you're also going to have some fun, and you're going to see some things that you wouldn't really expect to see. So it's pretty.
And Joe, don't mind, let me give a selfish plug. Hey, feel free to go to hub.att.com and explore.
And particularly for the sports and entertainment crowd, on that demographic specifically, and this subject matter specifically, what are some of the elements that attendees should expect? What are some of the priorities that you've been building in and making possible for your customers?
So sure. So we've got different sorts of fan experiences that are included. We have a showcase in regards to esports. We've got a singing machine. We feature a robotic barista and a host of other engagements, including on-field engagements and what experiences are like in the VIP suite. So again, I would encourage people to explore and have an opportunity to see and experience for themselves My words can't do it justice, but I really do encourage people to go to our expo hall, click the sports and entertainment, and take a moment to experience the wonderful, I think, creation that we've done in partnership with Impact XM.
And it really does map the sports and entertainment, particularly. It really maps not only the fan journey, but also management's perspective on the back end. So as you go through that engagement, you're going to walk into the stadium, the front of the stadium. You're going to see the different promotional products and services. As you walk into the stadium, you'll see the robotic barista. You'll see the signage options. You go in, you can go into the server room and see the data farming. Like you can go on field and see the kind of Wi-Fi and the way that combines in a fan experience as well as the television experience. So there's really a ton of stuff in there that if you're an owner, if you're an architect or developer, if you're involved in that business, or you're just trying to learn what kind of the Uber fan experience is, or the Uber stadium experience is, it's a great way to do that and kind of wander around a little bit and have some fun.
And I also, Joe, would encourage, some of your viewers to explore even beyond the connected venue, which is the sports entertainment, some of the other experience as well. A lot of the technologies really do transcend industries, and it might spark innovation in terms of how they can use that within their respective enterprise.
How long until you add a virtual half-court shot to win a promotion? Is that on the horizon, I hope?
There's some things in there. You're going to find some things, not that one, but there's a couple things in there.
That's a good tease. So, in the process of building this, what are some of the top level strategic learnings that you've come away with?
Hey, so I'll start here first. So number one, I think you have to have a clear plan in regards to what is it that you're trying to accomplish? What are your objectives? Who is your target? So I'll start in regards to, hey, what were our primary objectives? In the digital space, they were very similar in terms of what they are in a physical. The metrics might be different, but again, our primary objectives were demand generation. So, creating hot leads. And that's all about, again, developing relationships, moving customers along the continuum of purchasing, right? So moving them from awareness to education to consideration, ultimately to purchase, and hopefully to eventually being advocates of the AT&T business brand. Secondarily, making sure that we had a thought leadership platform. How do we espouse a point of view relative to what we bring to the market that enables and drives digital and business transformation? And how do we serve that up in a meaningful way so people can find content that is most relevant to them? And then lastly, like I said before, continuing to drive just credibility. As we continue to really open the aperture of how people view AT&T, we're no longer the telecom company. We really are a technology company that really is, changing how businesses do business today. And we actually impact not only the way people work, but the way they live and the way they play.
John, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I would say from a strategy perspective and stepping back from that as an agency partner, one of the key things for us was to balance the overall vision, which Trevór and his group owns, with the needs of all the business units. And you can hear that sprinkled throughout what Trevór said around objectives and creating engagement, but managing a project that was this large and this significant within a client as varied as AT&T, and making sure that everybody involved knew the vision and understood it, and we could achieve that while serving those needs of the business units and the different groups internally. For us, that was kind of the biggest challenge and the biggest takeaway, is to be able to effectively do that, which led to kind of the results and the solution that you see.
And I'll just add one other thing, Joe, if you don't mind. I think the other thing that is really important is, and I like to say this, is that we reserve the right to get smarter, right? So we start out with a plan and we start out with a vision, but as we begin to execute, we realize, hey, how do we continue to push the boundaries? How do we continue to drive more engagement, foster deeper connections? And so throughout this process, I think, we continue to raise the bar with the intent of really trying to be very purposeful in terms of what we were pushing and delivering to our customers and our target audience.
And so you've got this great virtual hub, and now the world is starting to open up a little bit, and we're starting to see a little bit more of the movement toward hybrid events. How do you use this as your digital anchor, but also start welcoming in person and blending the two together?
So yeah, let me start in regards to that. So number one, shame on me and shame on us as an industry for not embracing digital, more readily long ago. One of the things that the pandemic did, it absolutely accelerated transformation. It forced us to rethink how we do business, how we engage. What I will tell you is this will always be a part of our portfolio going forward. I think hybrid will be here to stay. It allows us an opportunity to let customers engage with us in a way they are most comfortable, right? So serving up that content, I think, is extremely important. It also allows us flexibility. The current landscape is still very fluid. So if you have a hybrid event, and if for some reason, there was a resurgence of some sort, we have an infrastructure already in place where we can quickly pivot and have a totally, virtual event. So I think hybrid is definitely here to stay. And even when we go back to in-person events, my intent and plan is actually to have it be complemented in the booth, right? Because again, I can't bring in a stadium into a booth. So when SportTechie returns to an in-person event and I want to showcase the hub and some of our solutions, there's a small set of solutions that I can do in my space. But clearly what makes it even more impactful and more compelling is to show it in a natural environment that really, again, I think allows individuals to see how they could use it within their respective space. John?
Yeah, totally agree. And I think that's, I came out as career-wise, I came out of digital. And so I was always that one kind of pushing us a little bit harder to be a little agnostic. And as Trevór mentioned, COVID forced us all to have that viewpoint, which I think, again, as us as marketers, as you think through things as marketers, is key. Because as Trevór mentioned, not only today, but demographically, as kind of Gen Y and Generation Alpha come up, they are digital first. And so live you're never going to match the power of live, but being able to truly integrate virtual and digital into that, not only in the booth, but also from hybrid perspective overall for an event, I think is going to be the key to success. And I think the brands that do it well, the way AT&T does, are going to have that competitive advantage in the market. And it's no different from going to a stadium where you can go and watch a game, and that's great. But if you can go watch a game and you can kind of check out FanDuel at the same time, and there's a really strong Wi-Fi connection, and you can order your food on your phone, that's just a better fan experience. And I think not only us as marketers, but certainly the sports and tech industry, that's where we're all heading. That's what the audience is demanding. And the people that figure that out first are going to have that competitive advantage for the next 3 to 5 years.
I think this is where I have to add the legal disclaimer that only go to the FanDuel Sportsbook if you're in a state that has legal sports.
Yes, of course. Yeah, of course.
I'd love to learn a little more detail. Trevór, you mentioned that the booth setting. How else can you blend, the hybrid events? What else should we, those who are, make the conference circuit, and attend events? What else is that? How else is it going to look?
Hey, listen, so the technology continues to evolve, but I know some of the things that are on the horizon that we're even contemplating is even looking at creating a digital twin, right? So how do you, if you're having an in-person event, how do you allow and really allow the virtual components and the people who are participating in person an opportunity to experience the same thing and even interact? So creating a digital twin that provides a sense of being in the moment at the in-person event. I think you're going to see that come really in the forefront here in the very near future. I know some have already had some success. We, from an AT&T business perspective, are looking at that as well as we consider how we're going to do hybrid events in the future and continue to raise the bar.
Yeah, that's a really important point, is picking your hybrid means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, and picking the right format for your needs. So we see full hybrid, which is that digital twin idea of connecting the audience and broadcasting out content during the show. We've seen modified, where some content is broadcast out, but it's a little bit more of post-event. And I think, years ago, CES started on that model, and other events have done that, where there's a lot of on-demand content that's thrown off. And then we were also seeing some hub and spoke, where you might have many different versions, smaller footprints in different cities, all happening at the same time, connected. So it's being very thoughtful about your brand and your audience and your objectives, and what version of hybrid really matches that. And there's a lot of different flexibility out there from that perspective.
And Joe, if I can just add to what John said, I think the other thing that I would just caution people on, or at least be mindful of as they're thinking about a hybrid event, it's more than just broadcasting the in-person experience. To do a hybrid event well, you almost need to think of them as two separate experiences. And so that you're creating an experience for the virtual audience that really is intended and curated just for them, to really foster that deep engagement and hopefully get them to have a longer duration in terms of the amount of time that they're spending watching and consuming the content. And I think that's one of the challenges that we're all trying to figure out. But one of the easy traps to fall into is, hey, I'll just stream my in-person event. While I guess that does check the box in terms of virtual, it probably won't deliver the results that one would hope to have from a virtual engagement or from a hybrid engagement.
Mm-hmm. And John, earlier you mentioned the headsets. Do you see more AR and VR in hybrid scenarios?
I just spoke on that. We're betting in this setting. We're betting on AR more than VR. We think the health risks or health, hesitations around putting on a set of goggles in a shared environment is going to delay that. VR is going to take off, and it's continue to be in gaming. It'll continue to be in training. It'll continue to be in areas where you can control that headset. But I think the days of walking into a trade show booth and throwing on a headset that someone else was wearing, that's probably going to slow down for a while. So we're pushing hard into AR for now. But again, I don't think VR is going away. I just think its use cases is changing because of COVID and those concerns.
Mm-hmm. And Trevór, what are some of the ideal use cases, not just hybrid, but going back to the hub generally, what are some of the best use cases you'd like to see in the sports entertainment field?
The best use cases I'd like to see in the sports entertainment field. I think one of the things that I'd like to see, number one, is leveraging 5G and using that to enhance the fan experience, the in-venue experience. We, AT&T, clearly are a leader in regards to providing 5G. And I think the more that we can use that to enhance, I think it also will allow a lot of the enterprises within the sports entertainment sector an opportunity to differentiate themselves and, create another reason to come to the venue, not just to see the game, but to the point that John made, hey, what's the experience? Many of us, when you think about, going to events, oftentimes you're not going to recall who won the game, but you're going to recall how it made you feel when you walked in, right? What are the things that you did? The smell of the popcorn, whatever the case might be. But really, from an experiential perspective, those are the things that are going to resonate with you over an extended period of time. And 5G really can create some unique experiences in terms of allowing deeper fan engagements, using AR as well to make people more a part of the experience. And I think you're going to see over the course of the next 12 to 18 months, some real enhancements, revolutionary enhancements in terms of the overall in-venue, in-game experience within sports entertainment.
Mm-hmm. John, do you have any thoughts on this?
No, I totally agree. We kind of referenced that early in the conversation, is that expanded fan experience where you're live and you're getting all the fun and excitement of live, but then you got that screen and you're carrying around that screen, which is essentially a remote control for your life. And so bringing those things together and combining them to heighten that experience, I think that's the key. And really, I'm not the expert. Trevór and his team are more expert on 5G, but some of the things we've seen on the cutting edge and the leading edge that AT&T is doing, it's going to blow you away. So, 5G is just, it's not 4G plus. It's unbelievable what we're able to do with that technology wise. And the same way that kind of the app market changed the iPhone, 5G is really going to change what we experience there. It's at that level. And so we're really excited for the next 2 to 3 years to see what happens in that marketplace.
Sounds great. Well, I encourage everyone to head on over to hub.att.com, but don't do that for the next few minutes because you should go to the networking lounge. We're going to have a Q&A with our panelists. Hopefully everyone can join us there. Thank you so much for your time, Trevór, John, and we'll continue this conversation over there. Thanks.
Great. Thank you.